Alright gamers, grab your trench coat and your little notebook because Steam just launched the Steam Detective sale and this one is absolutely stacked. Whether you like murder mysteries, solving crimes, interrogating NPCs, or just vibing in a creepy town figuring out what the hell happened, this sale is for you. And just as a heads up, it's only running until January 19th, so if any of these are on your wish list, that's your sign to get it now. Let's go. Alright, the first game on this list is LA Noire, and if you've never played this game, you're basically missing the blueprint for any detective game out there. This game throws you into a 1947 Los Angeles, and you play as an LAPD detective Cole Phelps, trying to solve a brutal bunch of cases while the city is drowning with corruption, lies, and crime. And this isn't one of those games where you just follow a glowing waypoint and the game solves the mystery for you. You actually have to look around, find clues, and connect the story for yourself. But the best part, and the reason that this game is still legendary today, is the interrogations. You're literally watching people's faces, their reaction, their body language, trying to figure out if they're lying or not and telling the truth. And the facial animation tech was way ahead of its time when this game came out. And it's not just talking either. You'll be doing car chases, gunfights, suspect pursuits, all the classic detective movie stuff. And it really makes you feel like you're in an old school noir film. And right now during the Steam Detective Fest, it's 70% off, so it's only $5.99, which is honestly a robbery for how much game you're getting. So if you want a game where you feel like a genius 1 minute and then you accuse the wrong person the next minute and feel like an absolute idiot, this is the game for you. All right, next up on the list is Heavy Rain, and I'm not even exaggerating when I say this game is a full-on psychological roller coaster. This game is basically a detective thriller where you're trying to track down a serial killer called the Origami Killer, and the entire game has that dark, rainy, something is seriously wrong here vibe the whole entire time you're playing it. What makes Heavy Rain so addictive is that you're not just playing as one person, you're switching between multiple characters, and every single one of them is connected to the case in some sort of way. And it's not a typical action game, it's more about decision making, exploring, finding clues, and trying to piece together what's actually happening. But don't get it twisted, this game gets intense. Like, you'll be chilling 1 second, then the next thing you know, you're in a panic doing quick time events fighting for your life. And the craziest part is, your choices really actually matter. People can live, people can die, and the story can change depending on what you do. And since this is the Steam Detective sale, it's the perfect time to grab it if you've never played it. If you like mystery, suspense, and games that feel like a movie, Heavy Rain is an absolute must. And right now you can get this game for $1.99, so why the heck not pick it up? Alright, the next game on this list is Call of Cthulhu, and this one is basically detective work, except the case is cursed. You play as this private investigator named Edward Pierce, and you get sent to this isolated island to investigate the death of an entire family. Pretty normal detective stuff at first, until you realize this town is giving off major everybody knows something and nobody's telling you energy. And this game actually leans pretty hard into the detective side. You're exploring crime scenes, finding clues, reading notes, piecing together what happened. But here's the twist. The deeper you go, the more it starts turning into a full-on Lovecraft horror kind of game. You've got cult vibes, creepy rituals, people acting way too calm about terrifying stuff, and the game constantly makes you question what's real and what isn't. And it's not just jump scares either, it's that slow, uncomfortable kind of horror where you're like, yeah, I should not be in this building right now. And you'll get dialogue and decision moments that actually change how things play out, so it's one of those games where you can't just shut your brain off, you actually have to think of what you're saying and what you're doing. Right now, the game is 85% off, so it's only $2.99, and that's straight up a freebie for a full detective horror game, so I would highly recommend picking this one up. Alright, next up is Sherlock Holmes The Awakened, and this one is for anyone who wants detective work but with a little bit of what the hell is that mixed into it. You play as Sherlock Holmes, and this isn't a goofy, relaxed Sherlock where you're just trying to solve some polite mystery. This is the Sherlock that's getting pulled into a case that starts off grounded and then slowly turns into a full-blown Lovecraft horror kind of situation. And the gameplay is straight up detective work. You're exploring environments, picking up clues, connecting evidence, and figuring out what makes sense. It's not some mindless game, you actually have to pay attention, and it feels really satisfying when it pieces together. But the moment you think you've got it all figured out, the game starts throwing in creepy cult energy and supernatural stuff, and you realize, yeah, I'm not solving a normal case anymore. And I love that it's still Sherlock and Watson, so it keeps that classic vibe, but the entire time it feels like something is getting worse the deeper you dig. Also, right now, during the Detective Fest, it's 85% off for only $5.99, which is basically stealing a whole Sherlock adventure for the price of a McChicken. So if you want a detective game that starts off as I'm smart as hell and ends as I should have just stayed home, this is the one for you. Alright, for the final game on this list, we're ending it with something completely unhinged, and that is Dino Cop. And I'm not even kidding when I say the premise alone is worth clicking on. So basically, dinosaurs get brought back to life and none of them wanted to be a cop. So humans were like, fine, we'll build one. And that's where you come in. You're literally a dino cop. Basically, the whole premise of the game is that you're investigating guests at a hotel while there's a whole dinosaur rights convention happening, and you're trying to solve one extremely important case. And the whole game leans into that vibe. It's detective work, but it's comedy detective work. You're interrogating dinosaurs, looking for clues, poking around trying to connect the story, and the entire time you're like, bro, what am I even doing right now? Also, people actually love this game. It's sitting at a very positive rating on Steam, which is impressive for something so weird. And it's currently $10.79 or a 10% off sale. So it's not a huge sale, but I definitely recommend checking it out if you want something fun.